Who else?
Thank you. Page 11. I'm going to do the English first and then the Hebrew, because hopefully by the time you hear it once, if you don't already know it, you'll be in the zone. The sun on the treetops no longer is seen. Come gather to welcome the Sabbath, our Queen. Behold her descending, the holy, the blessed, and with her the angels of peace and of rest. Draw near, O Queen, and here abide. Draw near, O metaphorical Sabbath bride. Peace be unto you, O angels of peace. Page 11, with Bialik and me, sing along. Hachama merosh ha'ilanot nistalka. Bohu v'netze likrat Shabbat Hamalka. Hine hi yoredet hakdosha habrucha. Ve'im amalachim tzva shalom umnucha. Bohi, bohi, Hamalka. Bohi, bohi, Akala. Shalom Aleichem, Malacheha. Shalom. We really need those Malachei HaShalom, angels of peace, right about now. But we breathe into Shabbos. We look to the west if we have a view for a gorgeous sunset, which is exactly what Bialik was talking about in that moment when the sun was there at a low angle, putting light on the treetops, and then suddenly it's gone. It's still daylight, but this direct sun is behind us this very moment Bialik speaks of. He was influenced, of course, by those to his north in Tzfat 4 centuries earlier who invented the Kabbalat Shabbat as we know it. And it is a beautiful legacy, which early on became the province of children in many communities because it's not a proper set of blessings. We don't need, in a traditional sense, we don't need someone who is themselves required to say the prayers in order to be the prayer leader. So Kabbalat Shabbat became a bastion for our youngest. And in today's Jewish educational settings, this is mirrored. And when I learned that our own Rebecca Sachs was leading a massive chunk of this through the Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School, I was honored to be online at the time and then to invite Rebecca to lead some for us tonight. So on page 7 from Elazar Azkiri of Tzfat, Yedid Nefesh. We're going to open, and then she's going to teach us a particularly fun new melody new to many of us, for the last stanza, Higalena. If you need to follow along in the transliteration, it's on page 9. Hebrew on 7. Rebecca, take it away.
Yedid nefesh harachaman Meshoch avdecha el retzonecha Yarutz avdecha kemayam Zarecha, Yeravo, Yedidu Decha, Mipna Fetu, Vechotam, Adonai Zivalam, Nafshi Cholat Avtecha, Ana Rafana Veharota Noam Zivecha, Asti Chazek Vetitvarech Vehaitala Simchat Shalom. Igale, gale, gale, na Ufros chavivi alai Etzukat Shalamecha.
Thank you, thank you. Yasher koach. We're going to have you keep doing the higale, gale, gale, so that we can all learn it and we can add it to the Adat Shalom stock of melodies. Thank you. Yasher koach. We have not heard the last of Rebecca tonight. Our Kabbalat Shabbat is a chance to revisit the week that was, to just take a moment and breathe, look around at those whose screens are enabled, whose cameras are on, and know that we are joined by additional as well. And we breathe into Shabbat. We try our best in the crazy pace of our world to think back a week. Where were we last Saturday night? I know I was celebrating a bar mitzvah. So this week is a little easier than many to say, where was I 6 nights ago? Oh yeah. But where were we 5 nights ago? Where were we 3, etc.? And that's a question not only in spatial and temporal terms, but spiritual, emotional. Where were we and where are we? We chart our progress, we hope. And we figure out what to take with us from the week that was and what to leave there. This is, of course, Shabbat Zachor, the Sabbath of remembrance, celebrating the deliverance for our people at a particular moment in space and time in Shushan. And on page 21, the very opening line of the opening psalm that begs us to go back to the end of last Shabbat and think about our trajectory is translated beautifully, come sing in ecstasy to the Eternal One, ring out a fanfare to our rock of rescue, Litzur Yishenu, our rock of rescue. Would that we were always rescued in the nick of time. Would that every innocent in Mariupol or Kiev would be rescued in the nick of time. And yet this image, our rock of rescue, we hold on to it, we pray for it, and we commit to being each other's rock of rescue whenever we can. Lechu neranena l'Adonai. Nariya letzur yishenu, nekadma fanav betoda, bizmirot nariya lo. Kiel gadol Adonai umelech gadol hakol Elohim asher biyado mechkerei haaretz v'tofot harim lo asher lo hayam v'hu asahu v'yabeshet yadav yitzaru bo nishtachave v'nichra nivracha lifnei Adonai osenu ki hu Eloheinu v'anachnu amarito v'tzon yado hayom im b'kolo tishma'u. Al takshu levavchem kemirma kiyom masav b'mir asher nesuni avotechem bechanuni gam ra'ufo alai. At the asterisk on page 23, Arba'im Shana Akut Bador. Vaomar am to'e levavhem, vehem lo yadu drachai, asher nishpati be'api, im yavon el menuchati. Breathe again into Shabbat. We keep looking out the window, if we have one, to see the changing sky minute by minute. And on page 33, the core theme of Kabbalat Shabbat is really the grandeur of nature, for all the challenges of human history and all the backsliding from the progress that we thought we had made. Nature goes on and testifies to the one. Picking up in the middle of the page, Zamru Ladonai Bechinor. Many of you have learned this melody from the Israeli group Nava Tehila that often our professional musicians sing. So try to hear Jeff and Beth and Cheryl and Mark and all of those wonderful accompanyings, even though it'll be me. Zamru Ladonai Bechinor, Bechinor v'kol zimra, Bechatzotzrot v'kol shofar. Hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai Yiram Hayam, Yiram Hayam umlo'o. Tevel veyoshveva, neharot yimcha uchaf yachad harim yiranenu, lifnei Adonai kiva, kiva lishpot haaretz. Yishpot tevel betzedek, be'amim, be'mesharim, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam umlo'o, tevel veyoshveva, neharot yimcha uchaf, yachad harim yiranenu. On page 37, the warm-up psalm, remembering the day that just was, last night, this morning, this afternoon, this beautiful sunset, as day 6 transitions into day 7. Mizmor LaDavid. Havu Ladonai b'nei Elim, Havu Ladonai kavod va'oz, Havu Ladonai kevod shemo, Ishtachavu ladonai behadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai al hamayim el hakavod hirihim. Adonai al mayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach. Kol Adonai behadar. Kol Adonai shover arazim. Vaishaber Adonai et arze halvanon. Vayarkidem kemo egel, Levanon v'Sirion, kemo vein re'emim. Kol Adonai chotzev lahavot esh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yacholel ayalot. Vayechasof Ya'arot, Uvehechalo kulo, Omer kavod. Adonai lama bul yashav, Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo vashalom. Before Lachadudi, just a very quick moment of Torah for this Shabbat Zachor. It is also Shabbat Vayikra, the Sabbath of the opening of the book of Leviticus, all about the sacrifices, which is why we're going to talk about Shabbat Zachor, the fact that this is the Sabbath immediately before Purim. There's been a very rich debate in liberal rabbinic circles, particularly on the Trua listserv in recent weeks, over what to do tomorrow morning. Because traditionally, Shabbat Zachor, which announces that Purim is coming, is recognized in synagogue by a special maftir reading. It's a little bit odd because Esther is so late in the canon, there's so little about it in the early strata of our tradition. The idea that it would be considered a mitzvah in the Torah when it happens so long after is a bit backwards, that the rabbis come up with actually 4 separate mitzvot connected to the festival of Purim. But the specific and best known for the Sabbath before is to read about Haman's ancestor, Amalek, because we are told that the lineage went straight from Amalek, the horrible leader of a troop of locals who harassed and attacked us in our moment of weakness on our way out of Egypt, specifically, as we'll hear tomorrow morning, getting the stragglers in our rear, Hanecheshalim acharecha. And that was considered so low. The idea that you would attack civilians, that you would attack civilians in the rear, who in civilized society would do a thing like that? God forbid we should hear reports of that today. Gewalt. Amalek became the symbol of evil, and perhaps no accident, whether it's historically true or simply a mythic truth that got written down, that there's a lineage of evil. And it somehow went through many generations all the way to Haman the Agathite, and he too expressed that Amalekite sort of readiness to harm indiscriminately civilians. The debate is right now over whether we should keep saying the Sabbath reading, Zachor et asa lecha Amalek. Remember that which Amalek did to you when you were ayef ve'agea, you were weary and tired, attacking the rear of your column, the innocent civilians. And then we have this remarkable last line to Macho timche et zecher Amalek. Erase, you must surely erase the memory of Amalek. Mitachat hashemayim. Get rid of him from the history books. And then the next line, lo tishkach, don't forget. And then the next year, the mitzvah again, to remember Amalek. How we remember our victimization is the question. When we remember it in such a way that just as the evil is passed down from generation to generation, from the original Amalek to Haman, the descendant, and then to the collective descendants ever since, all the way through Torquemada and Khmelnytsky in Ukraine in the 1640s. Hitler was Amalek, depending on who you talk to. Today's terrorists, today's enemy of any stripe is Amalek. Perhaps Vladimir Putin is a fine stand-in for Amalek these days. But if we believe that there's that mythic realm of evil that is constant, then similarly, we also believe that we are the perennial victims, and we are the ones in need of defense and of strengthening, and that there's a realm of evil over there, which means there's nothing to examine over here. And that is the fault line. That is why Baruch Goldstein in 1994 opened fire at the mosque in Hebron near the Cave of the Patriarchs and killed 29 unarmed Muslims at prayer on Purim, because he said, there's Amalek, innocent civilians. There's no easy answer. The rabbis don't agree. Surprise. We're going to read the traditional line from Deuteronomy 25 tomorrow. And we're going to put on our costumes the next morning after we dig out from the surprise snowstorm, Gewalt. And we are going to celebrate at our Purim Carnival. And we're going to do so with a sense of safety here that has been largely unknown in much of Jewish history. Certainly in the last 2 years since Purim 2 years ago when everything was shutting down, and here it's Purim 2 years later and everything's opening back up again. Wow. While recognizing that the vulnerability is still out there, and yet today's Jews of Shushan are actually the 43 million citizens of Ukraine, 200,000 of which happen to be Jewish, but the vast majority of whom are not. Victimization, unfortunately, is a very sinuous road. So I don't mean to bring us down too much on Erev Purim, on Erev Shabbat Zachor. We're about to go to Lecha Dodi and leave our cares of the workaday world behind as we look again outside and see how the oranges have turned to violets as dusk settles in. And we gather as much menuchat hanefesh, as much equanimity and restfulness of our soul as we can on this Erev Shabbat, while remembering that even something as simply or apparently simply joyous as Purim and the Sabbath that announces it, it's never quite that simple. We always have work to do in this world, and we have a memory to sit with and to own and to be super conscious of how we shape it as we hand it down to the next generation. So Shabbat Zachor Shalom, a peaceful Sabbath of memory to us all. One more time on this last line on page 39 as a lead in to Rebecca, taking it away for Lachadodi on page 41. The Redeemer prevailing at the sea, the presence presiding for the cosmos, the wanderer imparting strength to Israel, the giver of words, blessing the people in their peace. Adonai lama bulya shavayeshev Adonai melech leolam Adonai oz le'amo yiten Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Page 41.
Lechadodi likrat kala, Enei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Enei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'sachor b'dibor echad, Yishmi'anu lechan yochad. Adonai echad, Yishma echad, L'Shemu tiferet v'litzlila, Lechadodi likrat kala, Enei Shabbat nekabela, Lechadodi likrat kala, Enei Shabbat nekabela, Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha, Kihi lechor ha'bracha, Mirosh midem nesuka, Sof ma'aseh b'machshavat chila, Lechadodi likrat kala, Enei Shabbat nekabela, Lechadodi likrat kala, Enei Shabbat nekabela. Hitareri, hitareri, Ki ba'orich bomi, Ori, ori, shir dabri, Kavod Adonai lecha, Megillah lechadodi likrat kala, Enei Shabbat nekabela, Lechadodi likrat kala, Enei Shabbat nekabela. Boi b'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'b'tzahala, V'chamunei yam segula, Boi chala, Lechadodi likrat kala, Enei Shabbat nekabela, Lechadodi likrat kala, Enei Shabbat nekabela.
We may be seated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Beautiful and much appreciated. Page 51 at the asterisk, the little extra taste of Shabbat from the one psalm that is identified as the Psalm of Shabbat. Tzadik tamar yifrach, Ke'erez balvanon yizgeh, Shetunim bevet Adonai, Bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu. Od yenuvun beseva, Deshenim verananim yiyu, Lehagid ki yashar Adonai tzuri, velo avlata bo. Flip back in the book to page 131. The Friday night tradition that is ending with daylight savings time was in these winter, as it were, Shabbatot, a Kabbalat Shabbat, and then just to say Kaddish for those who may be saying Kaddish. It looks like Neil and Myrna are with us, if not on camera, and we are still in the period of Shloshim as we remember Myrna's dear brother. And there may be others as well here. If there are anyone who happens to be commemorating a yahrzeit or a recent loss, if you would put the names in the chat or just unmute and share, please.
For my aunt several years ago, Shirley Landau.
Thank you, Gordon. Right. Page 131, rising or seated as may be your custom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon v'yomechon, uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekudsha b'richu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. Zichronam livracha, their memories for a blessing. Look forward to seeing many of you tomorrow. The plan was for some of us to be in person when there was barely any snow in the forecast. Now it's 2 to 4 inches. So right before and during. So make sure you check overnight for updates just in case, but the Zoom access continues unfettered. Tomorrow is Shabbat B'Yachad, and Rebecca got us going because B'Yachad refers intergenerationally to together. And thank you so much, Rebecca, for the beautiful leading tonight. We're about to make Kiddush. If you want to do any version of it, you are welcome to unmute. Otherwise, I got it covered. But Ian, totally up to you.
I can do it.
Awesome. Thank you.
What page?
So it is on the opening Vayera Vayvoker, right, is on page 109. And then we go to page 119.
I don't.
She doesn't know the recon version. Can she do the?
And that is okay. You'll see a couple words in the middle on page 119 that you don't know, and you can either look at them or you can do the one you know, and everyone else will follow along. Cool? All right. Awesome. So thank you. Again, Shabbat B'Yachad, the intergenerational service tomorrow morning, in person maybe, online definitely, and blessings for a sweet Shabbat.
Yamashiki vayachol hashemayim ba'aretz v'chol azvam vayachal Elohim bayom hashvi v'achtal asher asa vayishbot bayom hashvi michol melachto asher asa vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi vayikadesh oto kivod Shabbat michol melachto asher bara Elohim asa v'arach ot Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kitayim mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodesh v'ahava u'ratzon yitchilanu. Zikaron l'maaseh bereshit. Yehuyon techila v'mikrad kodesh. Zecha l'tziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'charta v'otanu kidashta. Michol ha'amim. V'shabbat kodeshecha. V'ahava u'ratzon yinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai v'kadesh ha'Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Yay. A beautiful way to end this season. In theory, winter should be over now that the daylight saving switches. Tomorrow morning, we get a little jolt, but there is a lot to look forward to going forward. And may the warmth be ours. Blessings to all. Good Shabbos. Feel free to unmute. Say Shabbat Shalom, and thank you, Rebecca.
Good Shabbos, everyone. Thank you,
Rebecca.
Rebecca. Thank you,
Lovely.
Fred.
Thank you. This
Thank
was
you.
wonderful. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you,
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And whoever's
And
going
thank
to be
you,
on
Audrey.
Zoom, I'll
Zoom
see you
Gaba.
on Zoom.
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shalom.
Zoom.
Shabbat Shalom.
You're on
Sure.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hey, Dad. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Hi, Amy.
Hello there. Shabbat Shalom.
Planning to go in person tomorrow. I'm not sure with the weather, so we'll see. We were kind of hoping for pre-B'nai Mitzvah to actually be back in the building, Fred, but I'm not sure with the weather. I want to take our chances.
I know. We confirmed at 2 o'clock that we were going forward, and then the forecast got way more dire at 3. And yeah,
Later.
anyway, we'll see.
I'll be the Zoom goodbye for tomorrow. So I will definitely be on Zoom in my home office. So
Good for you, and thank you, and we'll be in touch either way.
Yeah.
You may see me in the sanctuary, you may see me here, you may see me stuck on MacArthur somewhere in between.
Shabbat Shalom.
hopefully not. Thanks, Audrey. Shabbat Shalom.
Okay. Awesome. Okay.